Hi, everybody. We're back with Moving Forward, and I am here with Tony Pearson.
Hi.
Tony, who are you?
I ask myself that question all the time.
Oh, wow. Now we're getting philosophical.
I'm so sorry. I am a theater professor here at lovely Gordon State College, and I'm excited to be talking with you today about starting after high school.
Cool. My name's Don Green, and I am the president here at Gordon State. And Tony and I are doing this podcast series because we want to help students and others out there who might be trying to figure out where they want to go with their career and with their life. So, yeah, today we're going to talk about how do you start? And that really comes from one of our students who is also our producer.
Hi, my name is Lainey Eisen. I am a theater major, and I also do literally everything. So, yeah.
So, Lainey, I believe you were the reason for this question.
Yeah, we had a discussion on what students would be interested in hearing, and in terms of the career path, the labor market, that's what it's called. And we had a conversation about my own experience coming out of high school and being like, oh, I want to do this, but I have no money, so I have to get a job. And I was like, how?
How do you move forward?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that a little bit. So one of the questions Lainey asked was, where to after high school? Like, how do you get there? And I would say you need to begin by developing a vision for the future. And that's hard. That's hard. So I'm going to go back to actually the Bible, Proverbs 29:18, where there is no vision, a people perish. And I would say that in much the same way, when it comes to students, if they have no vision, they tend to perish.
Ouch.
Yeah, I know. But the reason for that is it's just so easy to get lost. You know, if you're working on a bachelor's degree, for example, right, you got 4 years. And over those 4 years, it's very, very easy to kind of get sidetracked or run out of money or have grade issues, or the list goes on and on. Life will slap you around periodically with some things, and you have to kind of be able to continue to focus on where you're going with it. But that's not easy to create that vision, right? It takes a while. And I think for every 18 or 19 or 20-year-old, not just those in this current generation, because it was like this 40 years ago too, you want to have answers like immediately. But that's not how it works. You know, it takes a little time, and it helps if you have conversations with other people. How was your journey, Tony?
It was foolish. I suppose I did not have a vision. Or if I did, it was an unrealistic vision.
Yeah.
I alluded to this in the last episode, but my initial goal was to be a biomedical engineer. I went to my undergrad with that being my intent, and then pretty quickly realized that I was not good at math, and not being good at math and engineering don't align. So from there, I went, because I was chasing the idea of money, the pre-law. And it was an English professor who asked me if I loved the law. And I said, no, you love theater. So why the hell aren't you a theater major?
Yeah.
And that was what made things click. So I don't know, when you talk about having a vision, I never had anyone work with me on that. You know, it does make me wonder how things might have been different in terms of the journey that I went on if I'd have started with that.
You know, you've brought up so many really good points. One of them being not really having a clear vision, but just thinking this sounds good. Like this sounds good for money or whatever the case might
Sure.
be. You know, I grew up in a little tiny town. And so in my town, there were probably 3 or 4 different people who had jobs that required a degree back then. Now, that would have been like, I graduated from high school a little over 40 years ago. But back then you had teachers, you had a lawyer in town, you had a doctor and a dentist in town. Beyond that, I don't know how many people really had a degree. Maybe ministers, right? That might have been all of them. So you didn't have a lot of career paths to really choose from. At least you didn't think you did.
Right.
So I was like, I'm going to be a doctor. Why? Because it looks cool on TV, and I'm sure they make a lot of money. Let's go do that.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I had no clue. So today, when I run into students around Gordon who say, yeah, I'm pre-med, I say, great. What MCAT score do you need to get into med school? And they will look at me and go, MCAT? What's that? And I said, okay, until you can tell me what an MCAT score is, you're not a pre-med student.
That's right.
Right? I mean, it's just, I'm being glib, but at the same time, you really do need to do some exploration.
Thinking about how we're talking about this and how things have changed and how the overall expense of a college education has gotten to be so much more than when it was when I was going through college and you, is part of the idea of having a plan about navigating the college journey more efficiently, because the longer you stay in that, the more money you're I don't want to say wasting, but you need to have something at the other end of your college career that can help you be competitive when you enter the labor market.
Oh, no, you're absolutely right. There's no doubt about it. But I would even say there's a step before you start looking at navigating the college experience. We both work in a college, so it's just really easy for us to jump to that.
Yes.
But I think that there are really 3 E's that anybody in high school needs to stop and think about. And those are enroll. So you can do that. You can enroll in college. You can enlist in the military, or you can get employed. But one of the things that I like to tell students in high school is every year, at least currently, about 3.5 million students graduate from high school every year. And the question is, what makes you different than the rest of those high school students? What talent do you have? What makes you unique in the labor market? And we'll talk about the labor market maybe in a different episode, but the whole idea of what makes you employable. Let's look at it that way. So if you choose to enroll, what are you going to major in that's going to find you employment? You know, Lainey, we have these conversations about you and what your career plan is, and it's going to be a challenge. But what I loved is you've got a plan and you're working it.
Yeah, I think what helps me, at least, is I grew up with parents who also set a goal and they go for it. Like, both of my parents are higher management people in the Department of Transportation, and it takes a lot of work to be in that position. My mom oversees like a third of the state of Georgia. I also moved around a lot as a kid because my parents would be sent to other locations. I'm breaking the chain, honestly, of my family, because everybody in my family is in the Department of Transportation. And I was like, I don't want to do that. And my parents support me, but they're like, 1% of people get to where you want to be in that industry. And I said, I know that, so I'm going to work hard to be that 1%. Having someone to prove wrong, I think, is a bigger motivation for me, because it proves to myself that I can do it, and it proves to other people that I could do what they told me I couldn't.
You have hit on so many great topics right there. So one of them is just about commitment, right? You've got to have a clear goal of what you want to commit to and how you want to get there. So in your case, it's entertainment, right?
All forms of entertainment. I like to be on stage, off stage, on screen, behind this screen, and everything. So,
well, and I think that breadth gives you more career pathways as well. So it gives you more opportunity. So that 1% might become 5%, right?
yeah. My parents told me to have something to fall back on, and I was like, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do everything in this industry, so if one thing doesn't work out, I'm still in the industry just doing something different. So that's the way I see it and how I want to get into it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think about when COVID shut down all of the theaters, it was the theaters who had the ability to be flexible and try doing things online and try shifting to video that were able to keep operations moving in some way. And, I came out of that experience going that we need to make sure that our students are able to be versed in both on stage and camera work. And so I think that's again, even within our discipline, there's that need for having a broad approach.
No doubt about it. I think that you want that breadth, and at the same time, you have to have enough skills and talents in any particular area to be able to land the job. But one of the things Lainey also said that I have been saying to students and parents for years is students need to listen to their parents, that their parents need to understand that they're not always going to listen. And it might be in the best interest of that student not to listen to their parents. So let me unpack that for a minute. A lot of time, parents wish the very best for their child. And so they say, I need you to have a real job, right? You need a real career. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the perception of a real job that a student has might be very, very different than the perception of a real job that a parent has. Many years ago, I created a program in digital animation and video game design. And I remember that there was a student who came in to check out our program and to look it all over and just try to understand what the program was about and what the experience would be from a student's perspective. And he brought his dad along with him, and his dad was just angry from the very moment he showed up. I mean, he was just really unhappy. And I thought, what's eating this guy? What's the problem? And so eventually the guy that was running the program, the director, he took the student off to look at some equipment, I guess. And I had the opportunity to talk with just Dad. And the dad said, yeah, well, I'm here with him just because I want him to be able to say he got to check out the program. But there is no way that he's going to do a program where what he learns to do is play video games. And I said, oh, there's so much more to this than playing video games. In fact, we seldom have the opportunity to play video games. They're working on designing video games. They're working on the experience. I said, have you ever heard of GUI, Game User Interface? And Dad was like, I have no clue what you're talking about. Are you aware that at that time, video games are going to be a $20 billion industry worldwide? And do you realize that with CG, now many of our films are actually going to be part video game design, basically? That's how you're going to do special effects. And by the time we left, I think the dad felt far more comfortable with what his son was doing, which last I knew, that young man is now working for Disney. So he's doing okay.
That's all right.
Yeah, it's not bad. But you also need to listen to your parents, because your parents in many cases know you as well, sometimes even better than what you may know yourself as a 17 or 18-year-old. And it all depends on the family situation you have, right? There's so much more to getting started. We need to talk about, once you've decided, if you do decide you want to go to college, there's applications. There's something called FAFSA. There's just, lots of other FAFSA.
That's right.
Mispronounced my own stuff here. There's the questions you have to answer about choosing an institution, why, what the experience is. But I guess we'll get to those maybe in the next episode.
Sounds good.
All right. We will see you for the next episode, where we're going to get into some of the details about heading off to college. So once you've picked from the 3 E's, you need to really get focused on the college experience. So see you soon.